Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can of course follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Friday's edition of the dceu Daily. Now today we've not any updates really. We're going to read an article about Melissa Benoist saying she would like to play Supergirl again, and I want to take that conversation on to the exterior of the multiverse strategy and ask the question, is my imagination and your imagination more vaster and broader than DC's and WB's are about this multiverse strategy? Is it as vast and as broad as as exciting as I think it is and you think it is, or is it something and nothing? Will it not be the awesome thing and implement the changes that we would like to see? First, let's read this article from Paul Shurey of Screen Rant. Melissa Benoist would play Supergirl again after show ends. Actress Melissa Benoist says she would put on the Supergirl suit again after the upcoming series finale as long as it felt right for the character, by Paul Shurey of Screen Rant. Melissa Benoist says she would play Supergirl again after the show ends. Benoist has played Kara Zor-El, Kara Danvers' Supergirl for 6 seasons. First starting out on CBS, then moving to the CW, where the actress has portrayed the character in all manner of situations with all manner of friends and villains along the way, including her Arrowverse allies in a number of crossover events. Supergirl Season 6 will be the show's last due to the flagging ratings and pandemic delays. Now, the show's not being cancelled because of the pandemic. Listen, we'll go into this deeper, but there are so many problems creatively with Supergirl, and Supergirl's a great character. There are great versions of this character in the comics. They could have made an awesome, epic, emotional, character-driven journey for Kara Danvers, for Kara Zor-El, aka the very, very multiple talented Melissa Benoist. There's a whole host of problems with this show. Mel isn't one of them, and we'll get into that deeper. Benoist began her career appearing in a number of TV shows, from The Good Wife to Blue Bloods to Homeland. Yeah, she was in Homeland. She was in it for a split second, and she was topless. Yup, that's what she was doing in that. Anyway, I'm not criticising Mel for doing that, but it's all about getting a career and building it up, isn't it? But that was kind of what she did in Homeland. Then appeared in Damien Chazelle's Whiplash, which led to a recurring part in Glee. Yeah, Glee was her first big break. The actress landed the part of Supergirl for CBS while simultaneously working on a number of film projects, including Patriots Day and the Waco miniseries on Paramount Network. She also had a cameo in Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob reboot, playing Chronic in a Fox movie trailer. Now that Supergirl is ending, Benoist tells EW that she would not be opposed to suiting up as the character again in the future. While the actress says she'll miss playing the role, it's also a welcome change for her, saying, "I was ready for a break personally. However, with the Arrowverse still in motion, with shows like The Flash, Superman and Lois, Batwoman, Stargirl and the Legends of Tomorrow, there's always the possibility that the actress could put on the cape again. But with the stipulations, here's what Benoist had to say. I am not opposed to putting on the suit again. I know that there probably will be opportunities too. It will have to feel right for the character, and I know they would probably do it justice." Well, Mel, that's very nice of you to say so, because we know you don't mean that, because they haven't done you or your character justice for 6 seasons. I love playing with Grant Gustin, I love Tyler Hoechlin and Bitsy Tulloch on Superman and Lois, so no, I'm not opposed to it. With the cancellation of Arrow in 2019 after 8 seasons, Supergirl after 6 seasons, and Black Lightning after 4 seasons, and the Black Lightning one is so ironic and full of hypocrisy because they keep on talking about representing people of colour. He's probably, you know, bar the Flash and Arrow, my favourite kind of version of the Arrowverse, Black Lightning, and Cress Williams is a wonderful guy and a wonderful actor, and he deserved more than 4 seasons, but he's being cancelled. Right? Now, I don't know if it's a question of ratings, but you know, you're the CW. Surely you could have persevered with this show. It's a great show, you know, and you know, representation apart from that, it's really good. And I'm hugely disappointed that they cancelled it when they talk about wanting to be so inclusive. Anyway, seems to be in this. The Arrowverse seems to be in a state of flux after losing 3 flagship titles. However, the Flash is still going strong. It's not going strong, mate. It's going, but it's not going strong. And racing into Season 8, as well as Legends of Tomorrow, while Batwoman and Stargirl venture into their 3rd seasons, and Superman and Lois Season 2 premiering soon. The only known new CW DC show coming to the Arrowverse is Ava DuVernay's Naomi, starring Casey Wolford, set to debut in 2022. Benoist has been a strong champion for her role as Supergirl, and like many before her who hung up the cape or cowl. The actress seems to have a strong affinity for it, while the DCEU will be introducing a different actress into the role of Supergirl, and we'll talk about that in a minute with Sasha Calle in 2022's The Flash. There's still room for Benoist to slip back into the tights for an Arrowverse crossover or two. In the meantime, she'll have a 6-season show under her belt, which is no small feat. Well, it's a show that's basically failed upwards, let's put it that way, under her belt, which is no small feat, and likely an open door to return when the time is right. While it's unclear what Benoist will do next, she has an overall deal with Warner Brothers TV. The sky's the limit at this point. Yeah, no pun intended, hey Paul. Anyway, I've seen some wonderful performances by Melissa Benoist as Supergirl and Kara Zor-El and Kara Danvers, whatever you want to call her. I think it was the 3rd episode when, what was it? I forgot. I forgot the character's name, and we were talking about it because I think the character, the Illuminati were talking about it yesterday, weren't they? Red Tornado, that's it. There was that Red Tornado episode was fantastic, and when she's fighting Red Tornado and she goes into that rage and defeats Red Tornado. I think it's a shame they didn't make Red Tornado a proper character in this show, and at first it's a kind of villain, but then it learns and it becomes a part of Team Supergirl. It would have been awesome, but these people have no vision. Their only vision is in terms of their political propaganda. That's one of the things that killed this show, that is killing English-speaking Western entertainment right now, which we've discussed multiple times on this show and on this channel. So Melissa Benoist was the gleaming light of this show. This is a badly written show, so many bad ideas, and you know, we go back to the CBS show where, let's be honest about it, it was axed. It was axed and it was taken on. You know, it was on a huge network. It's a bit like Jodie Whittaker's first Doctor Who episode. Record ratings, then they plummeted. First episode of this, record ratings, they were boasting about it, then it plummeted because people came in out of intrigue. People liked Doctor Who, so they came in out of intrigue, then they went away. People liked Supergirl, they thought this could be an awesome version, and it wasn't. There were a lot of issues. I mean, the Jimmy Olsen situation is there. Jimmy Olsen's a great character, and really he should have been copy and pasted from the comics, not played by a 6-foot muscular guy who ends up having a relationship with Supergirl, which didn't work, and they axed that situation very, very quickly. Anyway, so this show is just another CW DC show that I like the pilot, actually. I think the pilot's okay. And I think there's elements of season 1 that had the greatest elements of this show. But of course, once we went to the CW, it went totally CW. And listen, the Team Supergirl has far too many people in it. And it's all about this kind of sisterhood of pants, if you like. And it's, yeah, you know, so disappointing. But Mel is a great version of Supergirl. And I don't really want to discuss her being in any other Arrowverse shows, but I would like Melissa Benoist to be involved as Supergirl in the DCEU in the future. I would love to see her in the Flash movie. So we can discuss that now. Now, I've been telling you for months that I believe multiple versions of these DC characters and DC universes will be in this movie. But is our appetite for this something that's in our minds, and maybe it's something that's not truly going to happen? You know, we have been told that so many DC characters and universes will appear in Andy Muschietti's Flash movie, and I hope so. But, you know, when you hear the word multiverse, maybe we think multiverse and we think what we've read in the comics, and they think multiverse, which is just an excuse for representation and inclusion, which Jim Lee has actually mentioned, not in this year's DC Fandom, but in the years before. Is it just an excuse to bring in different genders and, you know, a different kind of people from different backgrounds, or, which is cool if they're going to use it for that partially, but is it kind of, you know, to show different versions of these DC characters as well? The Flash will tell us everything. That's what's interesting about this situation. You know, I kind of want this to really do something special, because they keep on talking about, you know, the Flash being a shared multiversal movie rather than just set in one Earth in the DCEU, which is great. So I'm looking now at a great expansion. And one of the things you can do, because you've already had Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, the Flash, in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was part of the CW Arrowverse franchise, which was a great surprise, and there's rumours about Grant Gustin being involved in the Flash movie, and I hope so. So if he can be in it, there's no reason why Melissa Benoist Supergirl can be in it as well. But, you know, that's the thing about it. We don't know what the plan is. Look, she's a great Supergirl who was absolutely wasted, and you can kind of save the situation. Now, she's talking about taking a break. Everyone talks about taking a break. You know, you got to understand that she's been on this show for 6-7 years, whatever it's been. And, you know, they've been doing, what, 20 odd episodes a season or whatever it is. It's hard work. I mean, the CW make far too many episodes of their shows now anyway. And I think you look at Netflix, you look at streaming, 6 to 10 episodes, maybe 15 episodes at most. And that's slave labour in itself. But what fewer episodes do as well is bring more quality to a series, because you can work on your arc, you can work on your stories. It's more exciting. You don't have to waste time with fillers. It's a lot better. I don't know how Smallville was putting out 18 to 21 episodes, sometimes 22 and 23 a season. As I say, it's slave labour, but the quality was great. You look at a show like 24 episodes a year for 8 years, for 8 seasons, was sensational, because they were making a movie a fucking year. It was a movie an episode, basically. So I think those days are gone. But I certainly think there's a place for Melissa Benoist Supergirl within the DCEU. You know, Earth Prime, whatever that means, is it... And this is another interesting thing we've discussed before as well. Earth Prime pretty much means Prime, the main Earth. So if you're going to do a multiverse strategy, are you going to rejuggle the order of the Earths, or are you going to say that Arrowverse is the main Earth? This is interesting as well. Now, this would piss people off, something chronic. But if they're looking to do a kind of MCU bright and colourful universe, it's something they may do and could do. They could say that Earth Prime is the main Earth in their multiverse strategy. Now, I know many people would hate that. Arrowverse fans would love it. I'm not really an Arrowverse fan. I was for 2 seasons of The Flash and 2 seasons of Arrow. I thought we were heading for something beautiful. And I think it was leading the DCEU, you know, the DC Extended Universe, the Snyderverse, in being something that everybody could get behind. But then they CW'd it. And then they ruined it, which DC and Warner Brothers seem to be very good at doing with their DC properties for some reason. It's a shame. But anything's possible here. And that's what I'm saying. Is the changes they're going to make after Flashpoint that huge? Or am I overstating it? Is it me? As a creative, that's what I'd be doing right now. I would be doing I would be making a lot of changes to bring the broader audience into this universe. But I wouldn't betray the Snyderverse fans. The Snyderverse would be canon. It would never be forgotten. Even if you kind of say, well, that's a kind of Elseworld or whatever you're going to do. You have to rearrange the Earths. You know, as a studio, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep going how you're going and say the Snyderverse is Earth Prime and to keep all of that as canon? Or are you going to put another Earth as Earth Prime, the Arrowverse, for example? As I say, I can understand a lot of you right now are shouting at your devices and saying, Mick, no way, mate. You can't be doing that. I understand that. But ultimately, they have to make decisions here so their platform, so their franchise makes the money of the MCU. That's what Warner Brothers have always wanted. And I mean, we had Man of Steel, which didn't make the money they wanted to make. We had BVS, which did well, but didn't make the money they wanted it to make. I think they were very happy with Suicide Squad, but they weren't happy with the reception to Suicide Squad. And Wonder Woman kind of crept and stumbled to 800 million after giving it an extended cinematic release. They did that purposely. But let me be clear. A movie like Batman vs Superman, a movie like BVS should be making about, you know, 2 billion. Over 2 billion. Force Awakens money. A Superman movie should be kind of reaching $1 billion. Because if you look at Superman the movie, that's kind of what it would have made now. Because if you look, you know, if you change it for inflation, because inflation's a big thing, right? Superman the movie, actually, from this point, from 1978 to now, you know, definitely $1 billion. So Man of Steel should have made $1 billion. BVS should have made 2 billion. You know, Suicide Squad did well. And a Wonder Woman movie should be making $1 billion. But people lacked faith in the actual IP, and that's the problem. Not the Wonder Woman IP, but the DCEU. So people didn't come into it. And Wonder Woman 2017 is such a sensational movie. I mean, also hearing that Patty Jenkins didn't want Wonder Woman to have the sword and shield in the first Wonder Woman movie. Guess who won that war? One Mr. Zack Snyder. They talk about loving each other, Patty and Zack, but I think there were a lot of problems making that movie because her ideas of Wonder Woman are not the comics and not loyalty to the character, but a kind of nice, kindly Diana. Diana isn't a nicey kind character. She's a compassionate character. She's a kind character. She wants to protect people, but she's a fucking brutal, badass batch, right? I won't say, should I say big? Yeah, she's a badass, right? You know, the shield and the sword are part of her. Now, I don't think they were part of the Wonder Woman series, and I enjoyed the Wonder Woman series and what Linda Carter did on that show, but Patty wants to kind of make that canon, and it'd be interesting. Will we see Linda Carter in the Flash movie as the proper Wonder Woman? Because we saw Linda Carter as another character in Wonder Woman 1984. So these are situations that we've been discussing for a very, very long time. So Wonder Woman should have made $1 billion. You know, this is, but you see, the IP was damaged by that point because people didn't like what they were getting. I did like what I was getting with MOS and BVS, but BVS was the one that broke the camel's back, the rod that broke the camel's back. So then you went to Aquaman, that suddenly your Justice League was just, again, Justice League was their attempt to kind of make the DCEU all of a sudden just with a magic wand, which was Joss Whedon, turn it into the MCU, and it didn't work because everyone knew there was a bigger movie there. That's why it went wrong. It was rushed. It didn't work. It was a stupid, embarrassing, cringy thing to do. But then straight after that, Aquaman makes $1 billion fucking dollars. And you think, why? How have we gone from that? Because we've just spoken about Wonder Woman not making $1 billion. Why did Aquaman do it? Game of Thrones, Momoa, James Wan. What it is, even if you have no confidence in the IP, if you look at the actor, the one thing people loved, actually, ironically, the one thing they kind of got right for the kind of audience they were trying to attract in Justice League was Momoa's Aquaman, full of gags, you know, he was a lot of fun. People liked that. Even though people thought it was cringy when he was sitting on Wonder Woman's kind of whip or whatever it is, right? The lasso of Haspian, right? It forces you to tell the truth. And that was, I think that was a neat gag. I know people will say, no, it wasn't me. Anyway, it's all about opinions. So, because Momoa actually was received really well in Justice League, that helped the next movie. And it made $1 billion, and that's great. Now, I don't know what the next one, you know, The Lost Kingdom's going to do, because people are very pissed off that Amber Heard is still Mira. I'm not, because I know that Amber's like a bad girl and she's done a lot of questionable things, but I think that's a very attractive trait in a woman. I know, I'm terrible, ain't I? And you know, sorry Johnny Depp, you fell for it, mate. She was an ambitious young woman and she ate you alive, I'm afraid, but no, I like her. I think she makes me laugh. Listen, I wouldn't trust her as a friend or anything, but I do, I mean, I just think you can't, you know, we can't dictate everything. And I know the audience is king, and I always say that. But I just don't think we should take something that's personally happened and sacrifice someone's career for it. Now, you're right. Johnny Depp's career has been sacrificed. Johnny Depp made a mistake, taking the Sun to libel court, and it cost him because they literally, you know, labelled him as a you-know-what. And that Warner Brothers just couldn't sit there and employ someone who's been labelled as that. It's as simple as that. She's not been labelled as that officially, legally. You have to prove that she's a liar, that she's a bad person, and no one's been able to do it in a court of law. So we'll see what Aquaman does. And so it's very, very interesting, you know, what the multiverse strategy does. We've seen a lot, and someone was pointing out how the HBO Max DC shows are very, you know, have got a lot of people of colour starring them. And a lot of people are saying this is dubious because it's so they can avoid doing that cinematically. Listen, I'm not going to start getting into that and tell you how I feel about that, but if they are doing it, more power to them. Now, at the end of the day, we should have people of colour, Asian people, and white people. We shouldn't be reducing white people's appearances, but we should be representing everyone and seeing different people from different backgrounds and genders and identifications on the screen together, and that's how it should be. And if only Hollywood and the extreme left wanted that as well, the internet and the film world would be a much more friendlier place right now. And what a shame. So I love the casting in the HBO Max shows, and it's still representation, it's still inclusion, it's still visibility, isn't it? And that's the most important thing. I'm afraid there's some people you will never please. We'll see what they're doing cinematically. And to be fair, they're giving us a Superman of colour who will be released cinematically. There's no way J.J. Abrams is making the Ta-Nehisi Coates movie so it can go on HBO Max. But who knows about that? We don't actually know anything about that Ta-Nehisi Coates movie. We know the Val Zod movie is just hired a couple of writers, which is very exciting. So we'll see where we're going with that. And so I've always been pretty fascinated. As soon as I heard they were doing a multiverse strategy, but then when they told us they're rebooting the entire universe, and it's like, in a way, we're starting again. It's the way they say it, though, the tentative way they say it. In a way, it's like we're starting again. That's interesting. What do they mean by that? You know, that's an interesting question, isn't it? What do they mean that it's kind of like, not like, but kind of like, we're starting again? Now, that's interesting. So you can read into that whatever you want. I read into that when Barry fixes Flashpoint, everything has changed. He's literally either rebooted the multiverse or Earth 1. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's a multiversal movie. If the guy reboots the multiverse, then obviously everything changes in all these different universes. Titans, you know, Doom Patrol, Arrowverse. It all changes, and the order of the Earths will change, surely. We'll have to know in that movie what order everything's in, or people are going to get confused. This is the thing with being a multiverse strategy. This is why Kevin Feige spent the whole of the Loki finale in pretty much having a copy and pasted explanation of how the multiverse works via Kang the Conqueror. Now, I think it's a very good idea because I don't think audiences are that smart. Not the mainstream ones. You know, we know our stuff, but the mainstream audience don't know stuff. They don't read comics. So they need an explanation, and I think the way Feige is really, even in Spider-Man No Way Home, and we saw a picture of Doc Ock having Tom Holland's Spider-Man trapped as well, which is fun. So we're going to see, we've already seen the beginnings of the multiverse strategy in the MCU. And I must admit, thus far it's been okay. I couldn't criticise it. I think what they did with Kang the Conqueror is interesting, and obviously when female Loki kills him, that fucks up the whole thing. So that's the beginning of their multiverse strategy. And Spider-Man No Way Home will really begin the consequences of that as well. So look, Feige is no mug. So now we have to see because what they're telling us, basically, we're not going to do it in several shows and movies. We are going to change and expand the multiverse in a broad way in one film, the Flash movie. By Barry doing this, it changes everything. It changes the DC Extended Universe forever. That's what they're saying, and that's what they're definitely doing. So there is a big scope to this. Now, how big this scope is and how huge those changes are, I don't know. But it does give actresses like Melissa Benoist a chance to play her Supergirl on the big screen as well. I think she deserves it because I don't think she's the problem. Now, publicly, she's a feminist and she's this and that. listen, I don't care about stuff like that. People can believe in what they want. But ultimately, she's married to a man. So she comes out with the man hate and all of that, but at the end of the day, she's married to a man. And as I say to all feminists with all their propaganda, why are you married to a man? Why do you talk to your brothers and your fathers if you hate men? And where's the problem? It's all men. I know I'm changing the subject a little bit here, but I don't understand the hypocrisy. You either hate men or you think there's some good men out there. Like everyone. You can look at every demographic and find some shitty people from it. It doesn't mean it's all of them, right? I'm just trying to be logical here. Anyway, going back to the DCEU. And so it's still a bit of a long wait for The Flash. So I don't know if there's going to be hints in the Batman or Black Adam. You know, because they're the first two movies before the Flash movie as well. And so I don't know how connected Black Adam is. Now, Black Adam, now they have hinted lots of connectivity in Black Adam. And this is what I've told you from the very beginning as well. And it's funny how many things this lowly YouTuber gets right. Why aren't you following me? If you're watching this and you don't subscribe to my channel and you don't follow me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad, you're missing out on all the important information. I retweet everything that's vital to the DCEU and to the entertainment industry, so you should be following me. And as you can see, the DCEU Daily is a very informative daily show as well. So I'm not after your money, I'm not trying to become successful, but I do think this is the best DCEU daily show. You know, I know Ping Pong Flicks does one and different people do one, but I think what I'm doing here is the most informative. If there was more news out there today, we would be discussing it. I can promise you, I have scoured. Nothing is going on right now, so this is why we're having this little chat. So we've got about 3 or 4 minutes of this video left, because I like to take it to 30 minutes. And just to say to you that yes, it looks like Black Adam is gonna have some cameos. And that takes us to the elephant in the room, of course, which is, will Henry Cavill be in this movie? Now, I brought you a headline the other day that my source told me he's being recast. Yes, that might be the case. It may not be the case, but I think he doesn't mean he can't be in Black Adam. That's one thing. Now, whether he gets recast when we get to the Flash movie after Flashpoint, I don't know. I can only tell you what people tell me. So I believed it at the time, and now I'm believing it a little less. So that's where I am. Look, the Henry Cavill situation is a very frustrating and confusing situation because Henry doesn't talk about it anymore. The studio don't talk about his Superman. It's like they're shying away from it. So I don't know what's going on. But I certainly think that Black Adam will certainly be having some DCEU cameos, even if they're not Henry Cavill. Maybe Wonder Woman, who knows what they're planning, but we'll wait and see. But you know, the producer Hiram Garcia and the director and even The Rock has hinted that this is very connected to the DCEU as well, so that's interesting. It could just be connected to the Shazam movie because this is the Shazam universe after all, so that's one thing, that's one way to look at it. I think Black Adam is a more interesting kind of movie than the Batman, not in terms of me not being interested in the Batman, but the connective tissue of this multiverse franchise now, because I think this is where Walter Hamada's vision begins. It has, you know, people say so far Walter Hamada hasn't done a great job. Well, I would beg to differ. I think that Aquaman and Shazam were very successful and did a great job, and I know people are going to come in the comments, as they do, he had nothing to do with Aquaman. Sorry, he did. You can dispute it, but I can tell you, he did. Otherwise, we would have got the movie that Zack and James Wan were going to put together, which meant Henry Cavill's Superman and Ben Affleck's Batman having a cameo in that movie, as you all know. Because we've seen things. We've seen things. And we were definitely going to see Batman in the first Aquaman movie. Anyway, we didn't. But Walter Hamada's vision isn't Birds of Prey and it isn't Wonder Woman 84. It's what you're going to see next year. And if these things are successful, and as successful as I feel they're going to be, then the Walter Hamada kind of dirt talking, you know, hatred, and you've really got no reason to hate Walter Hamada, Ray Fisher was wrong to attack him. He should have kept it to the studio because he knew damn well Walter was just doing his fucking job, just doing what he was told at the end of the day. Anyway, I'm excited. I don't know if you are, but I'm excited for the future of this multiverse strategy. But I am fascinated to see how expansive and broad they will go with it. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment. Please, please, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And as I said, please like it. Liking it makes it get seen. The more people that like it, the more we can expand this channel. But it's entirely up to you. You can make me and you can break me. You are the gods of this YouTube channel. So I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, goodbye.